Sacramento's mayor is getting ready to make several big announcements. Caltrans is asking for millions of dollars to move unhoused people onto city streets. And an unhoused man was just arrested after assaulting a firefighter. And that's all to say that homelessness, the issue, it is not getting any better. In tonight's Main Point, our Devin Truby brings it all together in her sit-down interview with Mayor Steinberg, and a warning that some of the video you're about to see, it may be disturbing.
Struck by a random act of violence.
That's what Sacramento Metro Fire is calling this incident on January 17th at a gas station on Alberta Road. The fire captain returned to work after a trip to the emergency room. The man experiencing homelessness was arrested. Advocates are saddened by this incident.
What I hope that it does not do when people see this, on the news, I told you so, they're all crazy, we should put them in jail, all the stereotypes, stigma around mental health issues.
Advocate Bob Erlenbush says it's all the more reason for the city and county to step up with their joint agreement and offer more mental health resources.
We'd like to see treatment on demand rather than long waiting lists at the county.
We showed this video to Mayor Steinberg today. He agrees with the bigger issue, more resources for the homeless.
It certainly speaks to the need to have a comprehensive approach to this problem. In other words, the partnership agreement is going to allow us to engage with people who want help and those who don't want help but absolutely need the help.
Where they start engaging people is part of a big upcoming announcement from the mayor's office.
That actually shows people a visible and tangible result. And that means focusing on one major area of the city at a time.
The joint agreement calls for 10 teams in 6 months. The mayor would not give specifics on where they would start, but we did get a short list of locations that are under consideration. X Street, from 5th Street to Alhambra, and the highway corridor.
And showing people that we can make it cleaner and safer while helping the people, as opposed to just moving them to another area of the city, it requires more beds.
But while teams offering mental health resources and shelter are currently working along the freeway corridor on X Street, Caltrans is conducting cleanups and asking for $20 million over 2 years for more.
Doing nothing to provide services to people experiencing homelessness, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It does nothing to address the crisis of homelessness in our state.
Steinberg says Caltrans is at the table with the joint agreement. The alternative would be to move encampments from one part to another every time Caltrans wanted to do work.
I support the resources for Caltrans to be able to be a full partner in cleaning up the encampments, but doing so in a way that actually adds to our capacity, our beds.
A reminder that the agreement prefers using voluntary tools, but they also have involuntary tools.
But in the end, after all that outreach, if somebody has been offered an alternative, they won't take it, they can't stay under the freeway.
With the city and county homeless agreement just shy of being in place for 60 days, there is a clear picture the mayor is striving for.
The public sees a visible and tangible difference in at least one major corridor at a time over the next number of months, and know that we created that clean and safe environment in a humane way by helping the people. That's the test for me.
Devin's with us now. He obviously covered a lot of ground,
Yes.
but really, what's his main point?
Beds. You can offer people all the mental health resources, offer to take them off the streets, but if you don't have anything to offer them, anywhere to put them, then there's no change. How can they get better, accept this care, upkeep, and then also there's no visible change to you and I because we're still seeing them out in the community. We're not seeing them sheltered, which is what most of them want.
And you did join us about 2 months ago when the
Yes.
city and the county, they signed a joint agreement, and there were 5 core commitments that they were supposed to achieve within 60 days. Where do we stand with that?
Yeah, I joined you with these papers, what we're referring back to, notes, everything that we've tracked down for them. So where we're at is that by January 1st, they plan to increase mental health urgent care center hours to 24/7. They actually accomplished that 3 weeks ahead of schedule. And then by December 1st, a different goal was behavioral health calls that were going to 911. They were all supposed to be transferred to 988. Now that is currently happening, which leaves us to the consolidation of all the beds in both the city and county to be in one system. They're going to call that a coordinated access system. And I asked the mayor about it today, and he says, he's not quite sure that all the beds are there yet. It's very complicated to get them all there, but they feel pretty close about it. Now, plus the city and county, they also have to adopt a collaboration protocol to decide who is going to be responsible for meeting what requirements. And there are actually 12 requirements under that protocol section, all that have to be decided on. They met about it even before they signed these papers, but they're still working towards it. So, they're about 50% there, I would say. A few days left to tie up those loose ends, but we'll see what happens if they meet everything they said they were going to do in 60 days.
So we're talking about city and county, so I want to mention the county. What are they saying about all this?
Right, we had a brief conversation with them today, and we were able to get a little bit in touch with Rich Desmond, who's the board chair, and they said they've been working tirelessly to try to keep all these promises. And they feel confident, and they also feel positive about the strides that they've made, and I know that's something that you all are going to be talking with the county with next week as well.
Yep, that's right, and we hit that 60-day mark next week, so we'll see how it pans out. All right, Devin, thank you. And we're going to take a quick break, but we've got a lot in store. Crazy high gas bills, an airport expansion, and something out of this world. We'll be right back. Here are some other stories that people are talking about today. Relief may soon be in sight for those rising gas bills. I'm sure a lot of you at home have seen them. The California Public Utilities Commission is moving up the state's climate credit payments, and it's really meant to help people who had ridiculously high gas bills last month. So the CPUC commissioner says that gas and electric customers can expect $90 to $120 in credits. So that could be coming soon. All right, and get used to the name SM Forward. Sacramento International Airport is undergoing a $1.3 billion expansion over the next 5 years. And we're talking more parking, new gates, and then this walkway between Terminal B and Concourse B. Construction starts next year, and it should be wrapping up by about 2027. And there's a green comet that's been lurking in the sky for months. If you're hoping to get a glimpse, this week is your chance. It's grazing by the Earth for the first time in about 50,000 years, and that thing is moving fast. It's hurling by at about 128,000 miles an hour. So be on the lookout for that. All right, after the break, could fire become our friend in California? How researchers are rethinking how we look at wildfire fuel management. Last night, we reported that PG&E will have to stand trial for felony manslaughter charges in connection to the death of 4 people in the 2020 Zog fire. But what do the victims' families want to see? They spoke with our Firepower Money team today, and Zach McLeod's wife, Elena, and their 8-year-old daughter, Fayla, they died together trying to escape the Zog fire. Zach and his parents were in court yesterday and witnessed the ruling as the judge made the decision to order PG&E to trial.
It was nice to get that little victory, but my girls still aren't here. What I would really like to see, I guess it all boils down to, is some changes to make sure this does not happen again, that no one else has to lose their lives and go through what my daughter and wife went through.
The power company faces 4 misdemeanor charges and 7 felonies for the Zog fire. PG&E responded to the judge's ruling by saying, in part, we believe PG&E did not commit any crimes. We believe the conduct of our coworkers reflects good faith judgment by qualified individuals. The next hearing is February 15th, and at that time, PG&E will likely enter a plea, and the case could go in front of a jury. There's new research from UC Davis saying North America, especially in the Sierra, is experiencing more severe wildfires than past years. And that's not much of a surprise, but it is definitely important to acknowledge. fire has always been a part of our forest ecosystems. Less intense fires are actually beneficial to our forests, but severe fires disrupt the forest ecosystem and resiliency of the forest itself. This is due to things like climate change, but also because of how we've traditionally managed wildfire fuels. Wildfire fuel. I keep saying that. It is a bit of a tongue twister. You already know Brendan is with us to break this down a little bit more, because really researchers are looking at how things are changing, the way that we look at fires over the past few years. So what are they really finding?
Yeah, well, the rule of thumb for fire suppression over the last 100 years or so really has been to just extinguish every fire and not let anything burn at all. But that's not actually healthy for the forest, nor for the humans and wildlife that call the forest home. So the mosquito fire last year, a big fire that we had, but it gave researchers a real life test of some of their fuel management practices. And, I had to go take a look for myself.
Basically, we have 100% mortality in this structure over here.
Outside of Georgetown lies the Blodgett Experimental Forest.
It's a really great place to come and talk about a couple different forest structures and how they responded to the wildfire.
This past September, the mosquito fire burned through a portion of Blodgett, where UC Berkeley researchers were eager to see the aftermath.
The wildfire hit this type of a structure. It behaved in a very kind of high-intensity manner. And we really hadn't done a whole lot out there. So we've had 20, 30 years of time for fuel to accumulate on the ground here. We haven't done anything to treat the fuels on site.
Burning through this section of forest, called a stand, the mosquito fire killed everything from the floor to the canopy. But when it hit a different stand, one that had been managed via harvesting and prescribed burn, the fire behavior changed.
But we did see the fire effects change. It still killed some of these trees along the edge, but it did then drop to the ground, and it became, we're assuming, more of a surface fire, and we didn't have the same levels of mortality. And then ultimately, this is where they were able to put containment line in, is to this area that we had treated with prescribed fire.
We talk a lot about fuel dryness, but that is only one aspect of fire danger and fire behavior. The different types of fuels and how they are managed also matter. There are 3 primary types of fuel. There are the canopy fuels, which are the very tops of trees. Ladder fuels, such as small to moderate-sized trees and lower branches of larger trees. Then there's the surface fuels.
That's your needles, needles that have fallen, that's branches that have fallen, that's shrubs, that's small trees. That's what we consider surface fuel.
So much goes into fire behavior, including winds, fuels, and topography. So can we say the change in fire behavior was exclusively due to better fuel management?
So we can't really say with certainty, but we have to put these pieces together after the fact, looking at both the effects of the fire, knowing the history of the stand and the fuel conditions. So I think we can say with pretty good confidence that the fuel conditions really dictated that.
Yeah, I think the surface fuel is what we're saying is really, really key. Treating that surface fuel, anything that we can do, which really fire is the only way you're going to remove that surface fuel, but doing anything to treat the surface fuel is going to have an impact on fire effects.
Young, crowded stands like this one the mosquito fire burned through are common sights on industrial land, and it's even difficult to do a prescribed burn through young stands like this. But doing nothing, it's a high-risk, high-reward situation because it can cost upwards of $1,500 an acre to clear non-valuable trees with no return.
Obviously, it's a problem from a fire risk standpoint, but it's also a problem of what we can do with that. We don't have a lot of options without spending tons and tons of money. So in a way, you kind of look at this as just kind of biding your time, like, gambling a little bit, knowing it's a very vulnerable condition, but the cost of trying to mitigate that is just too high.
And that's only on industrial land. Federal, Forest Service, and national park lands are even tougher because the issue of burning and/or commercially removing trees is a controversial topic.
But there's tons of land, a lot of Forest Service land, et cetera, where there are trees big enough that can help pay for the restoration, but we have to be okay with harvesting and processing lumber, and that sometimes can be controversial, and people don't want to think about on public lands like using our lands that way. But I think there are ways to do it, sort of what I would say, like responsibly with even a conservation and restoration bent.
Still, it's more than just funding. Oftentimes, it's an infrastructure and personnel issue too. What would you do with all of this non-valuable lumber?
funding is a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's not the only thing. It's also where the funding goes, right? It's not just giving a landowner, like, you could give me all the money in the world, and there are certain things I could not do here because the infrastructure doesn't exist to do it and the workforce doesn't exist to do it.
To a certain extent, though, the funding the state has been able to put forth over the last few years has changed that a bit. People are through grants, which is kind of an onerous process. I think even applying for the grants, but once you get it, it can really help. And the question is, at what scale? I mean, can we as taxpayers fund that over the many millions of acres that need it?
So the big takeaway here is that these prescribed burns, they can not only help control large wildfires, but they can actually be beneficial.
Yeah, and they are beneficial. And I think you saw that in the images there. The completely burned out stand was totally burned from floor to the canopy. And that was because it was so dense. But when you looked at one stand that we saw there as well, where there was a little bit of clearing in there, where they did the prescribed burns, removed some of the low-lying plants, that did not burn as intensely and is actually beneficial for new forest growth.
And that's something that was really talked about, is the density of some of these trees on those stands as well.
Yeah, the forests are largely not in a super healthy state right now because of how dense they are. So the U.S. Forest Service says a healthy forest is usually about 20 to 40, sometimes 40 to 60 trees per acre. A lot of the Sierra is looking at 200 trees or more per acre. And that is why we really see these fires just rip through certain sections of the forest, because it's basically lighting a matchbox. All the matches are right there. You light one of them and they all go up. And those are very high intensity, severe burns that really do not heal the forest on the back half of that.
Well, and right now we're seeing the opposite of fire because we actually have some rain moving in. So what are we looking at for this week?
Yeah, it is kind of the off season, but we always think about fire here in California. But thankfully, we don't have to talk too much more about that tonight. Right now, looking outside, it is 50 degrees, winds out of the north at only about 5 miles per hour right now. Nothing really on radar, a few little blops of green there, but that's about it. That's all we're going to see over the next few hours. We're going to stay cloudy, though. Temperatures, because of those clouds, going to moderate a little bit. We'll be sitting in those upper 40s for much of the rest of this evening. Tomorrow morning, we'll be in the middle 40s for lows, about 46 Sacramento, 45 in Elk Grove, 46 in Stockton, 45 in Modesto, 41 in Fairfield. Showers, but there is that chance of rain in the morning tomorrow. So looking at Futurecast, mostly just clouds overnight. By the time we get to about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, this band of rain over the coast is going to push inland. But as it traverses the coastal range, you're going to notice it loses a lot of that moisture. So still looking at rain chances, especially from Sacramento to the north tomorrow morning for the heaviest rain, but generally relatively light showers for the most part, especially compared to what the coast is going to see tomorrow in the Bay Area as well. Off and on shower chance continues pretty much all morning long tomorrow through about lunchtime. And then even in the afternoon, even though it's unlikely we'll see any rain, can't entirely rule out a shower or two in the afternoon tomorrow. In terms of total rainfall, hardly anything at all. Only about 1/10 of an inch across the valley. That is all we're looking at. So nothing that's going to make a huge dent in our drought. But every little bit helps, even if it's just 1/10 of an inch. Looking at highs tomorrow, we'll be in the middle 50s, 56 Sacramento and Elk Grove, 58 Stockton and Modesto, 57 in Fairfield, 56 in Jackson, 51 in Placerville, 41 in South Lake Tahoe, and 37 in Truckee. That shower chance, again, mostly in the morning. This weekend, about 59 on Saturday. Better chance of rain and snow on Sunday, though, 57 for a high on Sunday. Winter storm watch for Sunday as well. 6 to 15 inches of snow above 4,000 feet, 15 to 28 inches forecast above 6,000 feet for Sunday. So if you are off to the Sierra, Saturday is the better travel day because Sunday travel is going to be very difficult with the rain and the snow, but back to 60 degrees by the start of the next work week.
All right, here's what we're working on for tomorrow. The last large area of undeveloped land in the city of Rockland was originally slated for high-end housing development, but now it will remain untouched forever. William Jessup University has purchased 400 acres from private developers known as Clover Valley. In partnership with Placer Land Trust, the university plans on keeping this wilderness pristine by using it to teach students about biodiversity and creating access for the public too.
Once you pave over it, once you build roads, once you build houses, you can't go back. So it will forever be preserved. It's going to be in a conservation easement. We envision it as sort of a living laboratory, not only for Jessup students, but really for the whole community.
And he says the land includes a threatened bird species and historical Native American sites. The down payment is complete, but the school needs to raise more money. So we'll have that story coming up tomorrow and explain why this is so crucial. I hope you have a great night. I'll see you right back here at 6:30 on Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Hey, look at that. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.